All right, how are you doing today? Happy Sunday to you all. Today we'll be concluding the video where I talked about what to know when buying cheap land. We talked about the first one, the part one, where we mentioned 3 things you need to know when buying cheap land. So today we'll add 4 more, so that to make up 7 things you need to know when buying cheap land. So if you didn't watch my part one, go ahead and watch the previous video I did. So today let's continue what to know when buying cheap lands. Number four, you have to make sure you are very sure of the title of the land. Title of the land is very important. Yes, I talked about inspecting the documents in the previous video, but when inspecting the documents you still get to see the title, but you still need to pay more emphasis. In fact, I would like us to pay more emphasis on the title, because the title gives you the right. The title shows you the rights that you have over a property. It shows if your rights are protected, if you have any right over the property or not, because sometimes you might have a C of O on a property and then your rights is not reflecting in any form on that C of O, especially if you bought the land from maybe not the original owner of the land. Maybe you bought it from somebody else who has already bought it from somebody else also. It has changed hands. You discover that the C of O at that point you will need to perfect it in your own name. So if the land is cheap, it could be maybe because the title is not reflecting, your rights is not reflecting on that land. So you have to be very, very sure of the title. The title is very important. You are buying cheap lands, yes, but go ahead and make sure your rights are represented on that land. You know your rights. Your rights reflect on that land. Title is very important when you are buying any land. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a C of O land. It might be a land that is not having a C of O, but just find a way to make sure you are very, very certain about the title. If you are going to perfect the title, be sure that you can go ahead and do it with ease. You know what it takes to perfect that title. Title is very important. Be sure of the title. So that's number 4. And number 5, again, what to know before buying cheap land: be sure of the terrain. Be sure of the terrain. If it's a land that is swampy, or if it's a land that is dry. It might even be dry, and then you might still need to sand fill. Maybe it's a land that is low. Maybe it is a lot lower than the road level. Then when you are buying such lands, you will, yes, it is dry, but you will need to sand fill, and in some cases you might even need to sand fill more than a land that is even swampy. So you might see such lands that the lands are down, they are down below, lower than the road level, and then they are cheap. So you have to consider, okay, what will it take now for me to bring this house to maybe a point where it is maybe higher than the road level, or maybe you find a way to make sure the drainage, if it's too low, if the land is too low, lower than the road level, you have to find a way to make sure the drainage, is something that is good enough for the house. So be sure of the terrain. Is it swampy? Is it a swampy land? Is it a land that is dry? Okay, if it's dry, be sure what's the height from the land to the level of the road. So be sure of the terrain. And then that's okay. We talked about 4, 5. Number 6, be sure that the land is not under dispute. And how will you be sure? In fact, this one is quite tricky, because sometimes you might not know if a land is under dispute until you have even bought it. Until you bought it, and then maybe you are now doing some developments, and you don't need to do a huge development before you know it's under dispute. You might just do a small little development, maybe as little as clearing the land. You might discover that as you are clearing the land, somebody will just come from nowhere and start claiming ownership. So if you are buying a cheap land, be sure that the land is not under dispute. Ask questions. You do some other, you want to call this on local search. When you are doing your local search, it can help you to know if the land is under dispute. That is, you get to ask people, ask the local people, the locals around, people who are who know about lands in those areas, maybe the chiefs, the ballers, the heads of the communities. You can ask them, the honest ones around. Ask them, and ask your local agent too in that area, who knows about properties in that area. Ask them how good that land is, how good the property is. Try and find out, make your investigations. So it's not enough for you to just go to the land registry and then go and check if the land is committed or not, and then if it's not committed, then you not say, okay, it's good enough. What if the land is under dispute? Maybe some family members are fighting, seriously over the land. You just might not know. So try and do a local search. Try and do an investigation within that area. Ask local agents, people who know about properties in that area. Try and ask them questions to find out if the land is a land that is free from any form of dispute, family disputes. And like I said, sometimes you might not know, even if you meet maybe one set of the family and they tell you that the land is free, and then by the time you go to site and maybe you do a little development, you might discover that somebody will just come from nowhere and then start stopping you, and it might not be as easy as you think, and they might not even allow you work at all. Might not allow you to take possession of the land. So you discover that even though you've paid you've paid a cheap price, but the land is not fully yours, so you might end up paying double. And then what if another group again comes? You might end up paying triple. So be sure that that land that is cheap is not under any form of dispute. And then finally, let's do number 7. Number 7 is consult a property expert. Consult a property expert. Many people like I don't know, should I say many people? Some people like running away from property experts, middlemen, like property agents or property consultants. Sometimes they could be surveyors. Sometimes they could be maybe some investors. Investors who have experience, in investing in such an environment. So consult them. Try and find out what they think. Try and find out the facts. About investing in such areas. Ask them questions. Let them give their own advice. Let them give their inputs concerning the deals, the land deals that you have secured, and from there you get to know if you are getting a cheap deal that is free from any form of issues or not. So it's important you consult property experts to be sure that your cheap land is cheap in all sense of the word cheap. So we've mentioned 7 already. I hope you found value in all these that we've mentioned. If you've got questions, just let me know. And if you've got any comment at all or contributions, just let me know as well. So thank you very much. My name remains Seke Igburu, Nigeria #1 Realtor, saying have a great day. Boom!